Hey, I thought I'd make a video on Zoom to go over some of the finer features in the settings. I'll pull up my sticky note right now so that you can see what my topics are. But Zoom does have some really detailed settings that you can use to help as you go through Zoom meetings with your students. I will say that the first meeting is probably going to be a little rough, but my group of 7th graders, I had 60 students in and I had almost 0 problems. I've only actually had to deal with 1 problem on it, and it was pretty minor. It goes really smoothly, and you can actually run your lesson pretty much like you run it in a classroom. It's just going to be a lot more teacher-centered, but I've got some tools to show you how to kind of shift that back onto the students, which we're always trying to do in our classroom as well. So I am here on the Zoom homepage. I'd show you from login just so you know how to get to all the places that I'm going. I'm going to be going over some of the basic features, and this is actually what it's called in their settings is basic, advanced, and email. And so I'm going to show you how to mute participants upon entry. I'm going to show you how to allow the host to put an attendee on hold. I've had to use that just once. Who can share nonverbal feedback, and then some of the one advanced thing that I think is really useful is the breakout rooms. And by all means, there might be more useful things than what I have on this list, but it's just ones that I've decided to enable or really use as I go through this. Email notifications, and so like when attendees join a meeting before I'm in there, I want to know that. So maybe they think it's the wrong meeting time, maybe I've forgotten the meeting time, but I want to know that they're in there. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to hide my sticky note for just a second here, and we're just going to log in. Click on my account here. And so this is my profile. You can see on the left-hand side here, the profile management. This is my personal meeting ID. I should probably blur some of this stuff out for you, but what we're going to do, or this meeting ID is never going to change unless you change it. So if you give your students a URL, you only really need one URL or one meeting ID, and they'll be able to use that ID for every time. So I just have mine posted in my Google Classroom, and the students, after those first initial meetings where it's a little hairy, they now know where to go to find those IDs. And I just kept sending it out in those first ones. Meetings, this is where you go to schedule your meeting. You probably already know this. I have 0 meetings scheduled as we're going into spring break next week. I've decided not to have meetings. Webinars, I haven't gone into. The recordings, this is where your cloud recordings will upload. I am deciding to save mine locally, meaning on the hard drive on my computer, but we're going to be looking at this settings button. Okay, so we are in the settings part, and you'll notice on the left-hand side that we have schedule a meeting, which is here, in meeting basic, in meeting advanced, and then the email. So most of these things are already on for you, but there's a couple that you need to switch on, and there's a lot of settings, so it's good to set aside half an hour or so and just read through these. So let's take a look. If we're going to be scheduling the meeting, and I'll try to find a better spot to put this sticky note first. All right. If we're going to be scheduling a meeting, I want my host video to automatically start when I come in. That's just up to you. Participants' videos, I want my students' participants' video on when they come in as well. I want to see them. I want them to see me. If it's their choice if they want to shut it off. And then you can actually change the audio type. You can have people actually call a 1-800 number, enter the meeting ID, and they can like teleconference into your online meeting, which is pretty cool. I did try it out on my personal phone. I know it does work. All these are usually on. I think I did have to switch the host video on and the participant video on. So I am actually going to skip down. You can go through these more if you'd like, but I'm going to skip down to where it says meeting basic, and that's where I'm at right now. And mute participants upon entry. So this one is not one that's automatically on. I want mute participants on entry on. And so I'm going to go down until I find that one. I think I passed it. Oh, I actually made a mistake. Mute participants on entry is not under the basic features. It's under the schedule a meeting one. So the one that I have highlighted on my sticky note is actually under the schedule a meeting. And it's almost at the bottom here, and it says mute participants on entry. And so what happens is you have a lot of students coming in, and if their mics are all on, you get a lot of feedback through the speakers. And in that first meeting, you should encourage your students to wear headphones. or to have some sort of headset if they can manage it, because otherwise you get feedback looping through their microphone and from their speakers, and it creates a really bad echo. So I have a mute participants on entry. That means when they join, they're muted. All right, now let's go on to the next one. This one's actually in the basic one, and it is allow host to put attendees on hold. There are some things about chat and private chat. I think you guys can figure them out, but this one is really useful. I actually enabled this after I had a student decide to just start spamming the chat, and I realized that I didn't really have a whole lot of control to stop him. I can't punish him at school right now. I can't really get after him. It's an optional meeting. So what I was able to do was I put this on hold, and the next time that he did it, he tried to take over the chat. The next time, I just booted him. I removed his privilege for the chat. So I've only had to do that once, and I haven't had to do it since, so we're good. Who can share? I only want me being able to share, so that means like sharing our screen, so that I don't want one of my other students pushing a screen into mine. You can see how that would be problematic, so I restrict it to only me. And I believe you can turn that on and off in a meeting as well, if you have to, like for some reason you want a student to share their screen. Going down to nonverbal feedback. So nonverbal feedback is essentially an emoji, a thumbs up, a wave, something like that. And it's really, really useful when you're giving a lesson, because you can have your students like give you a thumbs up if they get it, or you can have them like wave to signal if they have a question. There's actually a raise hand feature, which kind of gives you an alert, so you can like individually talk to that student. Let's see. So now we're into the advanced features. There's only one that I've switched on in mine. The virtual background is really neat. I keep those on, but it's right here at the top, and it's called breakout rooms. So breakout rooms, think of it as you're in your classroom and you want your kids to talk about a question in a small group for 2-3 minutes, or do a task in a small group for 2-3 minutes. That's what a breakout room is. So in this, let's say you've got 30 participants in your room, and you want to have you want to put them all in groups of 5, and you can randomly do that, or you can actually preset your breakout rooms and then push all the students, like force them into these rooms where they can chat about a question, and then you can give them oversight, and you can actually visit each room just like you would walk around a classroom and monitor their conversations. So you can jump in, kind of listen to them, answer some questions, and go back. And I've got an example that I did last lesson that I will put into this video right now. All right, so I was going to show you the breakout room example that I gave my kids, but when I looked back at that video, I realized that all you could hear me say was, you're going to your breakout room, and then you see the kids disappear. It doesn't actually show you how to do it. So I'm going to show you how to do it. I started a new meeting, so there's no kids in this one, but I'll show you how that works. And so once you've gone through and changed your settings, you should see a little bit different bar at the bottom. And so down here, you can invite people, you can manage your participants. This is where you'd actually go to like mute everybody. You can also, this is where you can also like make sure that you can kick people out. You can see that students can give you some feedback here. There's also some reactions, thumbs up, thumb down, and then the share sessions. Before I get to the breakout rooms, I'll show you this. So if I want to share my screen, just like on a screen recorder, I could share the screen what I have. I could also go to a whiteboard. I could share it any of the other windows that I have open. If you click on advanced though, this is what I think is the most useful. So I have a secondary camera. I have a second webcam, and it's actually a document camera. So if you have an external webcam, you can actually have your video going or your screen going and show the kids something on that other camera. So I think that's really useful. So I've done that content from second camera as well, but the most of the time I just use this screen. All right, let's go back to the chat. So this is where things would pop up, like students asking you questions, or you can talk to your students here or individually. Record, obviously Zoom is set up to automatically record for you, and it'll just ask you where to save, but I find it's easier to record just portions. And then here's the part about breakout rooms. So when you click on these breakout rooms, I don't have anybody in here right now, so it says assign 0 participants to one room. But imagine you had 30 participants in here, you could set up 5 or 6 different rooms and then kick them all to those rooms. I'll see if it'll let me do that. So it does. And so normally under these rooms, you would have all of the different students there, and then you would have the option to just click open rooms. And you can actually make it that so students automatically go there, or that they can like go to it and return on their own. I usually just force them to go, and then afterwards you can say, okay, we're ending this conversation in 60 seconds. Please head back to the normal room, and they'll get a prompt in their breakout room to head back to the bigger room. So breakout rooms, once you have that enabled in your settings, it'll happen right down here. All right, heading back to the original video now. The last thing that I have turned on is the email notifications. So I have it emailing me when an attendee joins before I start the meeting. So if I haven't started a meeting and I'm seeing students logging in, that kind of alerts me to like who's coming in beforehand. Do I have the meeting time posted wrong? Is really, it's a check for me, is like making sure that I'm at that meeting on time. But it is kind of fun to see also who logs in, and I've had a few students log in pretty late at night for the next day's meeting, I guess just to make sure that link works. But it's kind of neat, and you can jump into the meeting right away and see if that student has a question if they're still there, which I have done. And they were like, nope, just testing it. So, and then I also say notify the host and participants when the meeting is canceled, which is up to you. And those are really the big settings that I turn on for my meetings. I hope that helped, and I hope you can make some use out of it. Good luck Zooming.